Episode 1: The Swan Twins and the Seer. Death, I've learned, is less of an ending and more of a threshold. One moment I was there, in that other life, feeling everything slip away. The next, I opened eyes that weren't quite mine to the sound of rain against the window and the concerned face of a man I somehow knew was my father. Charlie Swan, Chief of Police. A good man, if a quiet one. The memories came in layers. My old life, sharp and clear. This new one, inherited from the body I now occupied, filtered in like morning light through fog. Kai Swan, Bella's twin brother. 17 years of a life I hadn't lived, but somehow remembered. The strangest part, I wasn't confused. Perhaps I should have been terrified, screaming at the cosmic joke of it all. Instead, I felt something else entirely. Purpose, clarity, and beneath it all, coiled in the center of my being like a sleeping serpent, power. Chakra, my old mind supplied. The energy I'd seen in countless episodes late at night, the ninja arts that had once been nothing more than fiction. Now it pulsed through pathways I could almost see, almost touch. Untrained, unrefined, but undeniably real. I caught my reflection in the window of Charlie's police cruiser as we made our way through the endless gray drizzle toward Forks. White hair, stark against the dreary Washington landscape. Eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses, necessary because of their unusual brightness. An almost crystalline blue that drew too many questions. Sharp features that seemed almost deliberately designed to stand out, to be remembered. I look like him, Satoru Gojo. The thought brought a wry smile to my lips. If I was going to be reborn, at least fate had a sense of style. You okay back there, son? Charlie's eyes found mine in the rearview mirror. Beside me, Bella stared out her own window, lost in thoughts I could guess at. Our mother, Renee, and the sunny phoenix she'd just left behind. Fine, Dad, I said, and meant it. Just taking it all in. Taking it all in. What an understatement. I was taking in everything. The way the rain fell in sheets that seemed personal, like the sky itself was watching us. The endless green of the forest, so thick and primordial it seemed to whisper secrets. The feeling in my gut that told me Forks, Washington wasn't just a small town where nothing happened. It was a place where everything was about to happen. That night, in the room that was supposedly mine, but felt like a stranger's space, I sat cross-legged on the floor and tried to meditate. Tried to reach for that coiling energy inside me. It responded. Sluggish but present, like a muscle I'd never used before. I could feel it wanting to move, to flow, to become something more than potential. But I was a civilian trying to run before I could walk. Whatever I was now, whatever abilities had followed me into this new life, they would require training, discipline. Time I wasn't sure I had, though I couldn't say why the urgency pressed against my thoughts like a hand against glass. Sleep came fitfully, full of fragmented dreams, red eyes in darkness, a laugh like bells, the sense of falling and flying all at once. When morning came, it brought the inevitable with it. School. Forks High School was exactly as small and suffocating as the memories I'd inherited suggested it would be. Bella and I navigated the office together, collecting schedules and maps we didn't need, fielded the curious stares of the administrative staff who looked at us like we were exotic creatures that had wandered in from some more interesting habitat. The staring only got worse when we stepped into the main building. I'd expected some attention. Small town, new students, the twin thing. What I hadn't quite prepared for was the wave of it. Conversations stuttered to stops as we walked past. Heads turned. I caught whispers that weren't quite quiet enough. Is that Bella's brother? Those eyes, though, are they real? He looks like an anime character. Bella hunched her shoulders, uncomfortable with the attention. I kept my expression neutral, almost bored, though internally I was cataloging everything. Every face, every exit, every potential threat, though I couldn't have said what I thought might threaten us in a high school cafeteria. Old instincts, maybe, or new ones, gifted along with the power that hummed just beneath my skin. Lunch arrived with all the grace of an execution, and Bella and I found ourselves adopted by a group of students eager to befriend the new additions to their limited social pool. Jessica Stanley, who talked enough for 3 people. Mike Newton, whose interest in my sister was so obvious it was almost painful to watch. Angela Weber, kind-eyed and genuine. Eric Yorkie, armed with a camera and endless enthusiasm. They were nice, normal. Exactly the kind of people who made up the ordinary world. And then I saw them. They entered the cafeteria like they were walking onto a different plane of existence entirely. 5 of them, moving with a grace that was too perfect, too synchronized to be anything but deliberate. Beautiful didn't quite cover it. They were stunning in a way that seemed almost artificial, like someone had taken the concept of attractive and refined it past the point of humanity. "Who are they?" Bella asked, and I realized she'd noticed too. How could she not? Jessica's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper, eager to share the local legend. "The Cullens. They're all together. I mean, together. Like, Rosalie, the blonde one? She's with Emmett, the big dark-haired guy. And Alice, that's the small dark-haired girl. She's with Jasper, the blonde who looks like he's in pain. They're all adopted by Dr. Cullen and his wife. Apparently they're all foster kids or something. They live together and don't really talk to anyone." I wasn't listening to Jessica anymore. Because the small dark-haired one, Alice, had just turned and looked directly at me. The world did something strange then. It narrowed and expanded all at once. Sound faded to a dull roar. The fluorescent lights of the cafeteria seemed to brighten and dim. Every instinct I possessed, old life and new, human and something decidedly other, snapped to attention. Her eyes were gold. Not brown, not amber, but actual gold, like someone had captured sunlight and given it form. They were impossible. They were beautiful. They were locked on mine with an intensity that sent electricity racing down my spine. I felt it then. Not attraction, though there was that too, undeniable and immediate. No, this was something deeper. Something that pulled at that coiled power inside me, made it surge and respond like it recognized her, like it had been waiting for her. Fate? Some part of my mind whispered. Destiny. The kind of connection that transcended logic and reason. Mate. The word rose unbidden from somewhere primal, somewhere that understood things my conscious mind was still trying to process. Alice's expression shifted, surprise bleeding into wonder, into something that looked almost like recognition. Her lips parted slightly. One hand came up to rest over her heart. She felt it too. Whatever this was, she felt it too. Kai? Earth to Kai? Bella's voice cut through the moment, and I blinked, the world snapping back into focus. "You okay? You zoned out there." "I'm fine," I said automatically, though it was a lie. I wasn't fine. I was fundamentally altered, rewired in the space of a single glance. Just tired, didn't sleep well. Jessica was still talking. Something about the Cullens not dating anyone outside their family, but I couldn't focus. Across the cafeteria, Alice was talking to the bronze-haired one, Edward, her lips moving quickly, urgently. He turned to look at me, his expression unreadable. There was something wrong with them. Something other. My instincts screamed it, even as my rational mind tried to supply reasonable explanations. Maybe they were just unusual. Maybe small-town life had made everyone else so ordinary that anyone different seemed alien. But no, it was more than that. The way they moved, too fluid and graceful. The way their skin seemed almost to glow in the harsh cafeteria lighting, like polished marble. The way none of them were eating, just pushing food around their trays in a mockery of normalcy. The way Alice was still watching me, even as she spoke to her family, like she couldn't quite look away. Biology arrived with the weight of inevitability. I'd known from my schedule that I shared the class with Bella, a small mercy in the overwhelming newness of everything. What I hadn't known, what neither of us could have predicted, was who we'd be sitting near. The Cullens, it seemed, favored the sciences. I slid into my assigned seat at the black-topped lab table, organizing the materials the teacher had indicated. The lesson was something about cellular structures, basic enough that I could follow without much effort. I was just starting to relax, to think that maybe I could get through this day without further cosmic intervention, when the door opened. Edward Cullen entered, his expression tight, almost pained. He moved to the back of the class, as far from Bella as he could get, and I saw her flinch at whatever she read in his reaction. But I wasn't focused on Edward, because behind him, moving with that same impossible grace, came Alice. And the only empty seat in the class was directly next to mine. Time did that strange thing again, stretching like taffy as she approached. I could see every detail with perfect clarity. The way her short black hair framed her pixie-like features, the pale, flawless quality of her skin, the gold of her eyes, brighter up close, almost glowing. The smile that curved her lips, small and knowing, and directed entirely at me. She slid into the seat beside me, and the air itself seemed to change texture, charged with potential. "Hello," she said, and her voice was like music, melodic and clear. "You're Kai Swan." It wasn't a question. She knew. Just like she seemed to know that I'd been staring at her in the cafeteria, just like she knew that this moment was as significant for me as it apparently was for her. "I am," I confirmed, keeping my voice level despite the way my heart was hammering. "And you're Alice Cullen." "I am," she echoed, her smile widening. Up close, I could see the faint shadows under her eyes, the slight tension in her shoulders. She was nervous. The revelation was as shocking as everything else. This creature of impossible beauty and grace was nervous to be sitting next to me. The teacher began the lesson, something about prokaryotic cells, and I forced myself to pay attention, to take notes, to pretend that the world hadn't just shifted on its axis. But I was aware of every breath Alice took beside me, even though something told me those breaths were more habit than necessity. Aware of every tiny movement. The way her fingers drummed once against the table, a staccato rhythm that seemed almost anxious. The way she tilted her head slightly toward me, like she was listening to something beyond the teacher's droning voice. "You're not what I expected," she said suddenly, quietly, her voice barely above a whisper but perfectly clear to my ears. I turned to look at her, found her already watching me with those impossible gold eyes. "What did you expect?" "I don't know," she admitted, and there was something vulnerable in the words. "I couldn't see you. Can't see you. You're a blind spot." The words should have been nonsense. Instead, they settled into place like puzzle pieces, confirming something I'd already begun to suspect. Alice Cullen was no ordinary girl, and her family were no ordinary people. "Is that unusual?" I asked, keeping my voice just as quiet. Unprecedented, she breathed, leaning slightly closer. I caught her scent then, sweet and floral, like freesia and something else I couldn't quite name. I see things, Kai. Futures, possibilities. But you? You're darkness, a void in my visions. And yet, I prompted when she trailed off. Her hand moved, slowly, carefully, until her fingers rested on the table mere inches from mine. Not touching, but close enough that I could feel the coolness radiating from her skin. Yet I saw myself sitting here. Saw myself meeting you. Just couldn't see you in the vision, only the space where you should be. And now you're here, and you're real, and you're real, and you're... She stopped, shook her head slightly, a smile playing at her lips. You're impossible. Takes one to know one, I said, and watched surprise flash across her perfect features. The rest of the class passed in a bubble of tension and electricity. We didn't speak again, both of us maintaining the pretense of attention to the lesson. But the silence between us was full of weight, of unspoken questions and impossible answers. When the bell rang, signaling the end of class and the end of the school day, Alice turned to me one more time. I'd like to talk to you, she said. Really talk. Not here, not with everyone around. Could we meet? Somewhere private. Every survival instinct I possessed should have been screaming warnings. Don't go into the woods with a strange, beautiful girl who admits to being impossible. Don't engage with mysteries you don't understand. Don't rush headlong into the unknown. But that deeper instinct, the one that I had recognized her across the cafeteria, that had felt the pull of destiny itself, knew better. Yes, I said simply. When? Her smile was brilliant, relieved. Tomorrow. After school. I'll find you. She left before I could respond, gliding out of the classroom with that supernatural grace, leaving me sitting at the lab table with my notes and my racing thoughts. Tomorrow, I would meet Alice Cullen somewhere private and learn the truth about her family, about this strange new world I'd been reborn into. Tonight, I would train, would push against the boundaries of the power coiled inside me, would prepare myself for whatever was coming, because every instinct I possessed told me that my life, this second chance I'd been given, was about to become extraordinary. I gathered my things and left the classroom, stepping out into the drizzle that seemed eternal in Forks. Across the parking lot, I could see the Cullens clustered around a sleek silver Volvo, their heads bent together in conversations. As I watched, Alice looked up, her eyes finding mine across the distance with unerring accuracy. She smiled, small, secret, a promise. I smiled back. Let the mysteries unravel. Let the impossible become real. I'd been given a second life, power beyond imagining, and now, perhaps something even more precious. A connection, a destiny, a fated mate who couldn't see my future, but somehow, impossibly, was part of it. Welcome to Forks, I thought as I climbed into Charlie's police cruiser beside Bella, who was uncharacteristically quiet, lost in her own thoughts about the bronze-haired Edward. Welcome to my new life. The real story was just beginning.